All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour. Patriot on the Patriot Tech. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We got Ben in the studio with us.
What is up, y'all?
Right.
Oh, should be
Stream
pretty.
health is horrible.
Is that what it's telling you?
How's the feed, everybody? Yeah, it's kind of
choppy.
No, it's not green. It's the dreaded yellow.
Dun dun dun.
Under
What's
attack.
up, y'all? Chris Stockton, what's up? All of our mods. For show.
What's up, mods? Did anybody receive the package yet? Has anybody received a package?
Danielle Bird, what's up? Anime.
Danielle, did you send me your address? If you wanted to, you don't have to. Sounds crazy. Give me your address ASAP.
No.
Chris, I need you, Chris. Send again, please. Chris,
Is it
Danielle, and then
was it the Patriot Hour 2018?
yes, thank you. Yes. Okay.
No
package.
There it is. I just threw out the Patriot Hour email.
Yes, please. I will not give that out to anybody. It'll be destroyed after I get it.
Dun dun dun. A little bit of Mission Impossible.
Happy New Year's to everybody. Traditional New Year's where we go to the new year. I don't think that quite exactly follows the traditional systems, but this is what we're under. This is what we're dealing with.
Yes.
And this is what we're playing around in right now.
Very true. Very true.
So, folks, a few videos today, just trying to nip a lot of the comments, a lot of the emails, and a lot of the chitter chatter going around on YouTube itself with the martial law, and then possibly we did see it, all right, in the Declaration of Independence. It talks about our God-given rights, and if we feel a certain, if the government's being too crazy, right? So they're both scenarios. They're both real. Is one happening versus the other? Are they both possible? What do you guys think? Ben, what's your actual thoughts on that, just to get you in on this?
Well, I'm actually pulling up now. The Declaration of Independence definitely is different than the original penned Constitution, but it does declare our independence.
We kind of had three pieces of information right from the get-go, right? Didn't we have the Bill of Rights?
Yeah. So basically, well, yeah, you're right. When we went over the founding documents, is what the Patriot team here likes to call those. All the documents collectively that actually make up our whole, and basically it's the Declaration of Independence obviously was in Congress July 4th, 1776. That was our declaration. Now remember,
that originally applied to the 13 colonies and stuff like that, because that's all that was.
Yeah, it's a unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. So they used to be the 13, colonies of a crown, obviously, and then we were paying taxes. They didn't say, hey, we're going to break away, we're going to come together, and that way we declared our independence. So that was an act of treason in itself to declare our own independence from the king, of course. And I'm trying to get to the part.
Tracy Mo, I don't even want to butcher that. Read that by Tracy, M-O-Y.
Oh, let me see over here. Let me pull it up. Tracy Banana. Kevin McKinney.
Monahan.
Oh, Tracy Lumber here. Tracy Monahan. Monahan. I don't know. Monahan. Hey, we are entitled to have the same weaponry as the government.
Aren't
We
we
entitled?
entitled? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well, the opposite to look at that would be to over the time. Yes, folks, we're definitely in a screwed position. It should be as they were building up that we never let that be bigger than what we had.
well, to
Now
answer
it's
that question,
opposite way. We look at it like, should everybody have nukes? I don't want my neighbor having a nuke. You know.
well, to answer that question, Tracy, yes, we are entitled to have most of the current military weaponry. So here's the reason why your neighbor doesn't have an F-15 Tom
And
fighter
your other
jet.
neighbor doesn't have a nuke.
And your other neighbor doesn't have a huge giant tank on their yard. It's because you don't got this. You can't really afford it. Now, yes, we're in the fiat current system, and there's all this information. But yes, civilians do have fighter jets, and there are civilians who own a fleet of tanks. So now, do they entitled to have a nuclear weapon? Well, no, I wouldn't say no, because you have a device that the common person can't maintain. Are you a nuclear physicist who understands fission versus fusion?
But
and all
why
that kind
did
of
we
stuff?
let it get there? Or were
From the
we
very
supposed to
get-go.
keep? Or were we supposed to keep our military suppressed around the world? That like every time they wanted something a little more, we, as the people, if you were in control, would say no, 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 and not let them have things out of the ordinary. And then it would. But with progressions and advancements and pushing
technology,
forward,
and let's be honest, nuclear technology, nuclear weaponry is a very small fraction. We have nuclear powered facilities
Energy,
that pump out power, energies. We have submarines, watercraft of all sorts. So, nuclear technology is not something you can actually, because other countries do have nuclear technology, but not to enrich uranium, the old yellow cake, and make things that go boom. That's a whole different ball game. And so when you get people who are dabbling in that, it doesn't take just one person. Not one person. I'm going to buy a nuclear weapon because the federal government does.
Yes.
That it's really hard to do. However, that is a good question because, like Mike said, we've allowed them to get that far instead of
not
putting
just
a check.
us or our
Not just
generations,
us.
folks.
Yes,
This has
exactly.
been
This is hundreds
this is
of
part of the
years.
system. They've progressively, just like the surveillance, it didn't happen overnight. It was little by little building up systems, and you got Five Eye, the countries sharing information. It gives loopholes for other countries to spy on other countries, and it's a favor. And anyway, so if I was to play like a little bit of devil's advocate here, Ben, it's like this. So some people like to argue that when our military's been stretched off all overseas and we need to quit worrying about other places and get our military back here, and we should do you think one of the main things the military should do is to stop an invasion from our country if it was to happen, if that was a true scenario, and not just at our southern border? What if it was coming from all sides? I'm talking sea, land, air, northern border, southern border, coastlines. What would you say on that? Would that be like one of the number one jobs that most people would think that our country, our military should do for the American people? Or is it always being extended only on foreign soil? And what do the laws say? And we'll try to keep this short for everybody so we can get over a few of these different scenarios.
Well, the first question you posed was a complete invasion from all borders. Now, that would be a
scenario.
very rare. You're talking the scenario that has been going around. Some of the emails we've gotten, many that you guys have been commenting below, asking some questions about it. Yes, that's the extreme level. What would happen then? well, there would have to be military intervention because the common person, like we've so eloquently put before, can't afford and doesn't have a fleet of fighter pilots. And that would be the number one mission of our military. As oath keepers, you're protecting the United States of America and its people therein. And so that would be your number one goal. Now,
So
the second
a lot
part,
of people agree with you. It's like, I think our military should just quit prodding their head around everywhere else and just worry about
so
our country.
yes, to unpack that one, it's a very good point because should America's military be the world police?
The world's
Many people
911.
have many people have argued that yes, we shouldn't be. Why should our resources and our military and all this great stuff go to these other countries and be spread out so thin as to expose the homeland, the motherland? I mean, I kind of call it America. This is where I was born. This is I love my country, and it's like, so do I want? And I know I went and served my country, but it wasn't on this American soil. I had to go abroad. I went overseas, and like you did, we didn't serve. Our time wasn't served
When
physically.
we were
Like I
home, it
didn't.
was like family time or
Yes.
relaxation time. All your real work was, for
And
us,
so
it was
now
Hays
they
Gray and
say,
underway.
well, yeah, exactly. They'll say, well, if we bring all the soldiers back, because here's some of the naysayers will automatically say this. I think we should bring all the soldiers back, personally. That's what I think. And if that happens, like, well, what about all these bad things and ISIS and all these things? If
Was that
every
all
country,
natural? That's a
yes,
whole nother-
exactly, it's a whole nother ball game. If we can control our borders and make the United States of America thriving like to Leave It to Beaver times when people were actually had good moral values and they actually had work ethics and understood about community and these kind of ideas, then there could be no way that a foreign country would even want to even tempt us to get into a war, because it's almost like, what did the Japanese general say after he bombed Pearl Harbor? And he says, I fear that we woke a sleeping, what is it, dragon or a sleeping tiger? Because it's like,
whatever.
yes. And so with that scenario where it's like, oh my gosh, it's whole coming in, the reality is it's not going to be so crazy like you would think it's going to be. Honestly, if we already have founding documents that outline what to do if this entity gets too big, because we just came from a huge tyrannical king who demanded his taxes and the obedience by penalty of death. So we were like, as a fledgling United States of America, we were like, what is this idea? Well, we want every person to become a king. Every man is a king. Every woman holds titleship of queen.
So that gets into our Constitution states that that our land is like our sovereign. But what does it take under current law, again, folks, we talk about, we know how it should be or what it could be, but then there's a reality of what we're in. So, of course, I don't, and I could probably pretty much say here at the Patriot Hour, we don't condone martial law. We wouldn't pray for it. We wouldn't. But
well, no, because
it's going to be an imposed thing. It's always imposed. It's not something that you vote for or you want. It just happens. But to get our military to even be able to operate, which most people think should be the number one thing, is to have martial law imposed, because our military can't really work out of our soil otherwise, which is
because if we still retain habeas corpus, then the military can't operate.
See how that
That's
works?
bottom line. Bottom line.
That is exactly correct. And now, if we're seeking an invasion at all sides, which is, again, it's like, why are we even talking about that? That's not happening. Well, why do we talk about martial law? It's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's
honestly,
being promoted around YouTube. I'm trying to calm you guys down and make you think logically here, folks. And
here anime said martial law due to economics ...
That's only
Well,
if people
I
are
think
shaking their fists because they lost all their money. Is that going to make a lot of people
well,
upset when they lose their money?
well, no, that could be a good tie-in because we already knew that the Federal Reserve was already controlling our fiat currency. If that's the case, how do you stop something that we're currently a part of in a contract? How do you stop the flow of money that's a fiat based on nothing money? And how do you stop that? Well, we can go into bankruptcy. Yeah, we could. Okay, that's a little bit messy because it is a corporation. We've already talked about that. What about a temporary shutdown that imposes all everything on our contract? Because the Federal Reserve is not federal, nor is a reserve, but it's also somewhat attached to the government, and it's almost like a cartel. If that's pretty more of a descriptive language, what the Federal Reserve banks are. And so,
So
if we're away from that, think about our
entangled,
sovereignty as states.
as entangled as this system is, we got people
Hmm.
asking, the Fed is not good, right? And yes, no, we don't want that, folks. This is what we fought to get away from originally. The system. All right? It's crept back. It's full blown. It's so if you as much as you've studied all the angles. Now, you don't again, what has ever led you to believe that martial law was the end game? Like what how did you come to those conclusions? And could you cite me to some kind of fact, or is it just what was led? Was it almost like a psyop to get that into your mind that that would be the plan? Like, where did you
Well,
hear this, and
actually,
how did you come
the
to the
the
conclusion?
well, the martial law, that's current language we use. It's hard because we were talking in 2018. This is the 21st century, so people don't know that you're the right of habeas corpus, and it's not a right, by the way. It's called a wit or a withdrawal,
Writ, like
of
WES.
yeah, yes, and that is a removal of your God-given right. So that whole idea, from just that nutshell of an idea, is you temporarily give your kingship over to the District of Columbia, pretty much what it is, because there is a rebellion or an invasion. There's only
Now,
two
was the
reasons. That's it.
rebellion what against state or government
Well,
that way?
rebellion, that's a good term for what we call riots now, or what we call what other people were talking about. What happens if martial law? There's some people like gangs going to come up and looters and that kind of stuff. That's what that word literally means. People who are they're being rebellious against the norms, against people normality and what we have as a society. So that's the internal word. But people say, oh, well, that doesn't. No, that's them people rioting and looting. Why? Only because they know that there's not enough police in or enough law enforcement in their area. They're already criminally minded. We're not talking about those people because those people, I honestly believe that's what maybe some of this stuff may be coming down for. Because most of us, like we've said before, are good at heart. And if something goes down, their power goes down. Like honestly, there's a car dealership in my city, or in my town, I should say. And if the power goes out for all this time, I'm not going to have any fortitude. I'm going to go down and steal me a bunch of new cars. That's not how I think. But there are people in this world who do think like that, and those are the people you have to basically look out from. And it doesn't take martial law to identify those kind of people. Bad
Well, how
people are
did you
just bad
ever,
people.
in your research though, before this year, before Q, because we can totally leave Q out of this, honestly, at this point. It's just like,
Yeah, no,
what do you, how did you ever get to think about martial law and it was going to be imposed on you, and that it was a system leading up to a nation? I mean, was it a lot of Hollywood movies with a lot
Well,
of,
yeah, that's the whole idea. When people found out the word martial law came to us, everybody talks about Red Dawn. Well, okay. Well, what is Red Dawn
Deep
about? I
State, the
mean,
movie that
go
was being made,
Wolverines. Yes, it was. Well,
or
they come in there and
State of something, State of, I
the
can't
Gray
remember.
State.
Gray State, there you go.
We have these because what sells in entertainment? Shock and awe. So when they're going to not show you the whole entire idea, they're going to show you one little dramatic idea. And of course, there's hundreds of movies I would probably throw out there that has something to do with the government
I mean,
taking
is it a
over.
possibility? We've seen it in other countries. Really, I mean, dictatorships is what we call this. If you're in a state of martial law permanently,
When
or
you have a permanent state of martial law, that's called a dictatorship. That's where there's one dude and he's got a big military and he's controlling all the people. We've seen that in many countries. We've supposedly went and tore down some of those regimes.
so do you
So
think it's feasible if they declared martial law at any point in our country at a national level
okay.
that what do we have total active duty with all the reserves? I'm thinking like a couple million. I mean, I thought it was 1.5. That might be 1.3 active duty.
I think so. Yeah, I saw 1.2 and maybe
1.
within
1.2 to
1.3.
1.5, we'll say.
I think so. Yeah, that's so.
But there's
let's go with that.
324 million Americans, I believe. So then you hear people say, well, it might be another country. Now, still, how many do you bring in? How do you get them in? Is it just like...
Well, let me ask you another question. What other country has as much of its civilians armed as America? And then I asked, okay, well, I have a couple telescopes, and there's people on the East Coast that have a couple telescopes, and hell, some people on the West Coast have telescopes. If China were to bring his 1,000,000-man army, how would they get here? By air and by sea, unless there's some crazy teleportation device that we don't know about. But you get 1,000,000 people, a 1,000,000-man army.
I guess
There's
we should
over.
look at the comments. Folks, I know there's two sides out there. I know that there's a lot of people in the Q, when we follow Q, what they say that martial law is supposed to be imposed for, all right? I'm very well aware of the Q angle of martial law. Then there's this other angle out there that it's there for everybody, and then we've looked at facts over the last few days as well. What we're talking about is, I've had people talk about in Kansas during some tornadoes, because that's Tornado Alley down there. We all know the Wizard of Oz, Oklahoma, Kansas, just that area down there.
Tornado Alley.
Tornado Alley, all right. Martial law has been imposed, like people have said, and they have nothing but positive things to say about it. And you got some other chitter chatter out there going on about that's not the one, and now it's changed to they're going to keep doing martial laws in tid little cities to get you conditioned for it. So that could be. So these are all scenarios. I love talking about scenarios. Another scenario is in our Declaration of Independence, it's talked about when your government's too corrupt, it's your God-given right to do something about it. Is that a possibility? Is there anybody out there that would do that? And if there is somebody, how would you go about it? With all these rules and all these separate constitutions and all these fuckery basically put in play.
Yeah.
How would you do it? How would you do it? In this scenario with possibly Trump, Q is about one of the only ways I could ever come up with. We've
talked about this before. I mean, the bottom line is people ask, well, I'm only one person. What can I do? I mean, the system is so big. It's so here, that's where. And you say, well, what can you do? Well, do it at a local level. Start there. What have you done? Did you just catch on to this about a year ago or 6 months ago or last week or 2 months ago? How long is this a lifestyle thing? Have you always been looking at that? Yeah, about it. And then you start thinking to yourself, okay, do you even understand that if you're using fiat currency, you live in a house, you have a social security number, you have a driver's license? I can go on and on and on and on. So what can you do about it?
Trump's part of the government. You can't trust any government, never trust any government. So therefore, blah, blah, blah. Like,
well, okay.
Is that
That's very true. Well, what did Bill Cooper say? Because sometimes I like to use him, as a sounding board as going back, and he says,
Why not?
because this system
He
has
had a lot of
gotten
great information.
great information. So I like to quote somebody who says, in a nutshell, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. He says that in our century, and of course, in this century we are in now, our government's gotten so huge that about the only way that we can avoid a third world war, we're talking the apocalypse, whatever we all read about in the Bible, is that if from an outsider came in
Cleaned
and
house.
basically cleaned
tried
house
all the people for treason. And in one
used their
failed presidency, won the election, won the people over, and did all these things. But yet, even if that's happening, you possibly have a big chunk of the people that are so blind to that, so not seeing it for whatever reasons, and they're helping cater in the other narrative of
You can
martial law
unwittingly-
and one world order winning because they can't believe in that it would be happening. Because if
Yeah,
it was happening,
like-
it wouldn't be Trump and it wouldn't be the military. It'd be what? Somebody like yourself? Or I mean, that'd be great. Show me how. Show me the way.
Show
You've
me
been
how I
sitting
can
around
talk
waiting.
to. There's militias in multiple states
Yes.
who get together, who's train a
The minute
lot
they did
harder than
something,
I
they
do.
would be freaking done.
Well, what happened in we've seen these compounds of individuals who've been training hard to be patriots, and they get hemmed up with being domestic terrorists, and all they're doing is just following the original penned Constitution of the United States of America and following these founding documents that we have of our independence. But the problem is if you don't truly understand where you stand at in this game that we're playing, if you're quibbling and quabbling over, well, they may do that or they may do
Here,
this.
let's
and
listen
you're
to
still
this real
driving-
quick. Keep your thought,
All right.
folks, because some of you
All right.
people are asking. Check this out.
Carter administration was one extreme, and then we came into the Reagan administration, yet
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. What you're saying is that no matter what the political leanings, they seem to be playing the same game.
As long as you're playing their game, it doesn't matter who you vote for, who you put in office. They all belong to the other side. They're the pockets of the Illuminati. When you quit electing professional politicians, when you quit electing the guy who looks nice on television because he speaks good and he looks like the guy you wanted to marry or something like that, you're playing right into their hands. You know, they made it so impossible for another Abraham Lincoln to get elected to the office of president that it's a wonder that we even have a chance at all. We need to send people to Congress and to government who are going to clean house. Kick all the members of secret societies out of the bureaucracy. Lock them up. Try them for treason. Because they are traitors.
So one thing that may help is term limitations.
We must have term limitations, and it must be only one term. And forget all this nonsense that anybody goes to Washington and don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening simply because they haven't taken the time as citizens to understand how our government works before they ever go to Washington. You see, it should be a process that starts in infancy. It works its way up, and everybody should be taking part in the government.
Now, if someone came in to office with this kind of knowledge and with this kind of intent to really push these people out, would they not be eliminated immediately?
Not if they have the people behind them, because what the people would do in one fell swoop, in one election, would elect people who've never served in government before, kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington. And here's the way it has to be done. You know, right now, you don't even pay your congressman. You know who pays your congressman? The federal democracy of the District of Columbia. The federal government pays your congressman, who's supposed to be representing your state and you. The federal government is a foreign country to your state. Why should he represent you?
I love that.
Yeah. How eloquent can you get? Do you understand a little bit more now? You're talking. It's the the Republic of the State, or the
So
Republic
Bill
of the Washington
Cooper,
of Columbia.
and I labeled that. I made that video like 8 months ago, folks, and I labeled
Mm-hmm.
it. It's on the channel, way down below, probably called "Bill Cooper predicted Trump." You know, I don't know, but that's
Something, yeah.
exactly what we needed. So people can't see this. I get it. It's real hard. It's real hard to see because if you listen to Trump's words, you would hear him call out them versus us. This is different. This isn't 8 years ago where somebody's like, we
Republicans
need to
against
lower
Democrats."
taxes. These people demand too much taxes. And those are the kind of words they use. They taxes and bullcrap that sounded great to you, but it wasn't
Yes.
never, we're shutting down the Fed. Clinton is a vast corrupt industry tied into the State Department and global elitist. He's made the deep state a household name, but this is part of the plan. I'm supposed to take it. This is all, I'm being duped. And wow, because if you've been studying the system, the shadow people, the shadow government, this is the opposite of everything that I've ever researched to lead to. It didn't have some quirky plan at the end to go opposite of everything they were doing, and to be taken down and called out in the limelight. Like it just doesn't make sense.
So you got to ask yourselves, folks, exactly. There's no denying something is happening. You can have those who are fear mongering and who are trying to whip up some type of emotion. God only knows why, who knows. Or there can be those to say, wait, there's knowledge to be learned here. Yes, something is happening, but you can educate yourself. You can become aware. You can break those mental bonds that have been chained in your mind, and it's cognitive dissonance. That's exactly what it is.
Because if you learn too much of a devious, dark plan, which we all have, Ben's done it, I've done it, Scott's done it. Everyone in my personal life knows about the dark, devious NWO, Endgame, New World Order, Nazi World Order, whatever you want to call it. And not too many people have heard about, if your government's too bad and too messed up, you should do something about it.
Hey, let's go do something about it. Well that's too big.
Let's band together,
I'm busy.
man. Band of brothers. Band of brothers. Instead of help catering in the filth.
And think about it. The bigger that not only that all of us become in the way of gathering together, how much of a resource of research and information if we can all get together and push ahead and forge ahead forward on what's happening. Talk about, the team here at the Patriot Hour and us here at the Patriot Tech and all you guys. This is amazing stuff, but this is so much information that sometimes it's even too much information for us to come in and get it all digested in Garage Talk and then come out to you guys. So it's like if we get together and all you guys give research and correct us when we're wrong, because Mike and I said many times, being wrong is sometimes the best thing because now you know the truth and you can move on, and the truth is much more simpler,
right? Light and
than
dark.
a lie. Exactly.
So check it out.
Stumble around.
Why would and if the system didn't have any kind of rules whatsoever, it's almost like, yes, we have this evil versus good, but it seems to be that there's boundaries and rules that almost have to be honored. I don't know how to put it, but if they could just implement everything all the time, then they would have already done that. We wouldn't even probably have YouTube and be on the internet right now being able to discuss anything. It's called free will, right? Is that what you've come to conclude?
I would agree. Yeah, it's free will. And to a point of tyranny, of course.
So in past elections, like if there's ever been true patriots running, and then they didn't want to, like, how would you beat this system? Just give us your best. Like, how would it, with all your research that you can take, putting into this answer, like collective research.
How would I beat the system? The
knowing
bottom line is
if everything that you know to believe to be true and all your research and however that research has gotten to you. Because a lot of the research looking into the NWO it can't all be verified. Like, for example, the martial law that's in your head. Is there anything that you can cite me to prove that it's coming and what time? Or is it just the collective thought?
It's more of a collective thought of what's
of
going
what
around.
The whole thing puts into your head, almost like a psyop.
That's the society consciousness. Right now, there's things happening in Washington that's happening on a huge level, and a lot of people are starting to take notice of that. And so they have a lot of different theories of what's happening. A lot of things are spinning around. What would I do to personally? Well, I'm not a multi-billionaire, and I can't finance my own stuff. But if I was, and money wasn't an option, I had all this stuff, well, I'd become commander and chief of the most powerful military on Earth. I've always said, hey, he who carries the biggest stick walks the quietest.
One of the best ways is to beat something up from the inside out. To have control of the military. That way the opposition doesn't have control of the military to stop you.
Exactly. Not only that. Well, not only on top of that, but it's like, if you're trying to take down something so big that one man can't take it down, you need a team of people to take this down. And like, well, what is it? We got to vote it out. Yeah, that's where it's like almost an implode from the inside out. Well, that's explode, sorry. Yeah. For an explosion of the inside out, where it comes into where there's been so overbearing, because the common idea of you need a license to drive is that's not the original documents say. And people can go back and forth about, well, it doesn't say this. Well, Bill Cooper so eloquently put that the District of Columbia is different than the states. And so how they can function is different than how we can function. And so if they're their own sovereign government, that's like you saying, how do you, the people in Texas or the people in Nebraska or the people in Michigan, you go kick China up and go tell them to go do something. That's about as much power as we have right now. That's why when you hear words like us against them, like Mike said, I'm taking it away from them, we're giving it back to you, the people, and what's happening at the highest levels.
You don't think that's just treason. Talk? Just fancy talk?
Yeah. You don't think that's just fancy talk? Yeah, exactly. This is happening for the first time in a long time. And why did we love JFK so much? Why was JFK such the beloved president? And this guy was, let's be honest, he was sleeping with Marilyn Monroe, sharing with his brother. I mean, he wasn't the most of moral persons, but why do we still look totally past his indiscretions in his sex life and see him as almost the greatest president except for Abraham Lincoln and George Washington? Because he took on the Fed and he took on the government and started exposing.
It was a way to discredit him. It was a way
to discredit him.
So if you dig into his life a little bit, his personal life, or maybe his past, or anybody's past. So I put it to the people out there. Look at yourself. Look in the mirror. Think about where you're at now. And I know some of you out there are running channels. Some of you are wanting to bring truth, and you really care about the kids of this world, the other people of this world, and you're trying to do the right thing, but maybe you've gotten your own marred past, but you've gotten past that. You've moved forward. Anybody can do that. Everybody's entitled to be in that position. I would imagine. I mean,
well, we all have our own
Everyone
perspective.
Has demons in their closet, L.
Yeah, everybody does. I agree. Yeah, everybody has their own past, and it's hard. We can all try our very best to push forward, and that's why if we as a collective hear something is going on, we're going to cover it. We're going to see what's out there. We're going to research it to the nth degree. When this whole martial law came around, people were dropping it. Yeah, of course you're going to be covering. That's real stuff that's happening. We have these sealed indictments. We don't know what they're there for. What's going on? Military tribunals. Well, you can't military tribunals, and you can't try other citizens under military law because most people don't understand that. The UCMJ is for soldiers, not citizens.
There's all this stuff, right? But people are acting like, that's never going to be used. Even though it's there, it's been sitting there. Trump didn't make up all these military tribunals and things and treason, the word. He didn't, come up with that. These are all things that have been there. They've been there for a reason. They haven't been applied to nobody in a really, really, really long time for a good reason, because the system's been in play. They're all covering for each other. But for the first time, We might have that one person that infiltrated, the one person that's calling it out. Everything he does is positive, pretty much positive on things that he's saying and doing. It's the old walk, you're walking like a duck, talking like a duck, is it? Or, so there you
You're
go.
right. That's what we're going to call it for
You,
what it is.
you
Now,
call it for what it is instead of saying no, even though he's racist, but then he does great things for all communities, all people, all color. Folks, it's awesome. And you can't stop and say, nope, I'm going to be real weary of it now. Because it's like when all the bad's going on, you're weary. Now there's some good going on, you're weary. And you might be missing out
you
on...
can't be, you can't be weary all the time. And we've said, listen, you got to live your life. There's nothing wrong with having some extra supplies. Awesome.
That's right.
Now you got some extra supplies. Good for you. That's great. Great. I have lots of extra supplies. Hey, that's just how that's called prudent living. Save money, right? Didn't your parents teach you that? My parents taught me that. Hey, save today so you can spend on a rainy day or whatever,
Yes.
So it's like we're not downing any of that, but what we are downing is, look at all the avenues, not just one of them, because sometimes even looking at information that you think is contradictory to what you believe in can sometimes have you asking yourself, is what I'm saying or what I believe, is it really the truth? Is it really what I truly inside want to have and come to fruition and be my reality? Do I really want that reality? You got to ask yourself that, because I don't, man. I want a peaceful future. I want a peaceful place for my children to grow up, to have other children. I could be a grandfather. I mean, it goes on and on. I want them to prosperous. I mean, I'm doing things in my life now that is going to be like legacy to my children. So when I'm no longer on this earth, and so it's like, if I get my head wrapped up that like I'm gonna, if this goes down, the energy goes out, lights. I'm running, for the hills, and I'm gonna be going this and going to secret camp, and I'm gonna be banding together. I mean, that's good and all, but like for how long? I mean, you can on average, humans live like 3 minutes
I would
without
put
air.
If we have, like I said, there's a couple different stories possibly going on here, right? There's a couple different scenarios we could all agree on. If you've done enough research for as many years as I have, yes, you knew of this new world order, one money, one government, one religion, one system, total control. And that's inevitable. Or it's coming, and martial law is coming, but it's not here yet. The ones we've had are just to get you conditioned for it. But we also have possibly a scenario of our country being given back to the people to keep our sovereignty. Nationalism versus globalism.
You ever ask yourself, people, how come we don't carry guns like the cowboys used to do back in the Old West? You ever ask yourself that? How come we don't all have guns? And when most people see somebody open carrying a gun, they freak out like, ah! Like, did you know, like they took their sovereignty back in the Old West, like 100 years ago, like really seriously? They like, whoa, I'm a king, dude. You don't defame a king. And we've gotten to this now that we are so reliant on another entity to tell us how to think, what to do, where to work, how to live. And when you start thinking outside that box, you're called a conspiracy theorist, which is always a name that people use in condemnation instead of more in research or trying to get into the meat of a particular subject matter. Because if you can't tell yourself that, my beliefs could be wrong. If there's what you think that you're 100% right about everything you feel your gut's always going to be that way. I can tell you right now, I've never been 100% right about anything in my life. You just do the best you can with what the information you have around you is available. And if you don't research all that's available, then it's kind of getting into self accountability there, individual accountability, I might even add. So it's interesting. So to think like that, we got to think more as a whole of, okay, how can I change myself? How can I change my household? How can I change my neighbors? How can I change my community? And I'm not saying in a subversive way. This is for betterment. I mean, when is the last time you talked to your neighbor about the original pen Constitution and let them know that, hey, you know, what's going on here? Hey, a great liberty loves spending this. Or when was the last time you went to the store and was like, here's your fiat currency. There you go. How many Federal Reserve notes was that again? And you ask them like, well, excuse me, I have no idea.
Yes. All right. So that it's interesting. Like we said, they can't impose a whole lot of things on you. They have to propaganda us, get us to vote, get us to sway that way. In the past, if they controlled each candidate, possibly if the system had their front runners promoted by the fake propaganda news, and then it got down to, you know, maybe 4 to 5 months beforehand, it was like this candidate versus that, left, right, but it was both bonesmen. They sat back, enjoy already, like, woo, we got, you know, it doesn't matter.
Whatever happens, yeah, they can let the dog and pony show begin because we have both the candidates in our pockets and it's all good. They've made their vows.
The agenda's going to go
oaths.
on is the way it was supposed to,
and this guy's going to talk about taxes, and what's going to happen is we're going to raise them, and then he's going to cut taxes back to where they were, but he's going to be awesome because he just cut taxes, and he's going to talk about welfare programs, and he's going to talk about all of the Republic of the District of Columbia's own.
And you could already
sovereign...
see this work with the masses. When we say the masses, that's normally what those will call them. But check it out. It's like we've seen it before. We've seen it now. If somebody's up on stage and they're a Democrat and they're talking about the border 8 years ago, it was cool. The crowd cheered and they loved it. Take Trump doing it today. It's wrong. It's bad. So we know that that's all psyop. That's put
it's all being head. Controlled.
It's all
yes.
control. It's all
we're going,
programs. It's all really getting people brainwashed to a degree of as long as my team says it, because that's how it works. All right. So yeah, of course we're not caught up in left versus right. It's typically, you know, it's the one head with the two hands, folks. We get that. That's how it's typically been. So what makes it different with Trump? If you were to, in all your research, did you ever hear of a scenario, by the way, or is this the twist in it, that this last candidate would come and the system would go against him for optics? Like, I mean, what do you think? Like, if Trump is part of the system or to cater in anything or to be part of it, why such the game?
Resistance?
Yes, the whole time.
I mean, now, I guess one can say, well, the resistance itself is a psyop because they can't make him look in. But it's like, wait a minute, all the other presidents or all the other candidates that the mainstream media wanted to be elected, they put the gears on big time. And in this last election process, the American people, we the sheeple, we the masses, started seeing major conflicting information coming at us during the election.
Like the Bushes, like vote for Hillary. Whoa! Like isn't that everything opposite of what everything you've ever stood for? Yeah, but she's better than Trump.
Well, wait a minute. Now you're just saying it's the lesser of two evils. We've been saying that for years now.
Yeah.
And who wants to vote if it's just evil versus evil?
And they're not just saying vote for, you know, somebody else in the Republican Party, vote for her. You know, I mean, it really got down when it was down to them too. But
exactly. And those of us who've been researching this and we're always very aware that what comes off the TV to be truth, we saw it so clearly, and in fact, we were. It was entertaining to us because we were like, "What's going on here? Oh my gosh, they can't keep their stuff together." And I think that exposed a lot of it. And what
Amy.
happens is,
Amy's
um,
in.
nice. What's up, Amy? Uh, and just think about it. What other president in history besides like JFK and even Abraham Lincoln said the tabloids, but he was talking to the press. And they wrote the newspapers, but did they criticize and call the press enemy of the people? Literally, a president. If a president called the press the enemy of the people, that's your political career. You're done. Sorry. Hey, the press is against you. And this guy's coming out every speech calling them fake, pointing at them, and just ripping them up and left. And
So how does that
like
play into the system?
how does that play into the system? Yes, exactly. And so I think I agree with you. You can think that this is all big psyop and we're just duped to build the wall because it's not for them, it's to keep us in. Yeah, but there's like 7 billion people on this earth. Trust me, there's other countries that can take that wall down. Look at Israel. They have a wall around their whole entire country for the most part, and it's building frequently, and people still try to send stuff in there, and that gets bombed out, and they're still going through back and forth. And who comes to their rescue? We do. I mean, you think about all this stuff. There's a lot of people on this earth. Let's get our country back in operational standards. Let's produce stuff here. Let's buy. How about every American should have everything made in America? And it'd be a luxury, or not even a luxury, it'd be an oddity to have something from China. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
I agree. I agree with you, Anime. I agree with you on that one. It's crazy because, so you can't get involved with, well, the UN's going to come in and overtake us. Well, yeah, but you got to understand when the last administration or regime started to threaten to take away our arms or started to propose bans on certain type of arms that were by our God-given rights. I recognize that I can bear arms. Just
So
a mere hint
what
of
did they
banning
do?
that armed us crazy to the teeth.
they did something up in New Jersey. They banned something in Jersey, dude. Like it was clips bigger than 10 rounds. Is that right? We should pull that up. But
I know
not
that
one
California
person
has bans.
No, they just did it in New Jersey, and they said since
Okay.
they put the ban in, not one clip for over has been turned in or anything. And they're like, this even poses for off-duty cops. But if you pull that up, I don't know. I could look at it too. They said not a one. I was reading an article.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with you guys. Yep, 98% of what we buy is from China, and I agree with you. Love in Texas, only in a reverse reality that we would have everything made here. We the food we grew here, we would eat it here, and it'd be so plentiful. But that's the reverse reality we're going for, people. That's the whole idea. For us, that's the reality we want. We want that. And how can we have that? Because for my whole lifetime, we've been at war, and we've been under this regime system to where I can't get ahead. Do you know how much my family could be and have, and you guys? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about land and things like this. We all can be more. Yeah.
Millions plus New Jersey gun owners defy the state law, refuse to turn over banned gun mags.
Gun mags.
Over 1 million New Jersey gun owners defy Governor Murphy's gun magazine ban and turn in demands of what some estimate is easily more than 10 million now illegally standard capacity gun mags.
Well, there you go, people. What would happen if they put a ban on stuff? What would happen? Well, they would say, hell no. Come and take them. There you go. That's a
There you
good
go.
point right
See,
there.
come on now. So New Jersey's standard capacity ban now is in effect, making New Jersey 1 million gun owners criminal in the eyes of the state. There's 1 million criminal people there now. But in an act mass of defiance, New Jersey residents refused to comply. Any
Now, why can they
magazine holding
refuse?
more than 10 rounds is now illegal in the Garden State. The standard
commie
magazine
state?
for an AR-15 holds 30. Glock
Standard.
19s, which is the most popular pistol in the United States of America, folks, holds 15. You can't
Mine
even
holds
buy the
more.
Glock 19 without a 15-round mag.
That's standard operational procedures for a Glock
SOP.
19.
SOP.
Wow.
It's
Okay, folks, let's just
unbelievable.
stop right there. Think about that. Think about that. The state passes a law that infringes upon your constitutional God-given rights. And what does over 1 million people do?
They don't listen. Look at that, folks.
Should
They
that
don't
be awakened right
listen.
there? The bill was signed into law on December 11th, 2018, to turn over magazines to police. This law limiting number of rounds magazine holds to violate the U.S. Constitution. And they try to say it does not put an undue burden. Yes, it does. That's an infringement, buddies. Wow. Hey,
Unbelievable.
think about it, folks. Okay. So, if you want a real, now, of course, that's just, now, if that article is wrong and there's no such thing as a gun ban in New Jersey, the Garden State right now, and we're totally wrong and this is all a psyop, please let us know in the comments below if this is not real, if there's any other articles. I'm gonna set the function that maybe it is real, and over 1 million gun owners refuse to abide by any law that infringed on their freedoms and their rights. I'll show that. That's cool. That's cool. Herbert Jackson Jr. I call BS.
No, it's anybody from
know,
New Jersey.
Anybody from the Garden State. Now you don't have to say what your stance is on the particular law and how you're going to abide or not abide by it, but just let us know if this law is in effect in your state, because I don't live in the Garden State. Greg Gilman says I am. All right. Hey, Greg, is there a high capacity magazine round law
See, Elle says
banning
it.
high capacity? Okay.
She said it's real. Well, I mean,
Okay.
she's right there. And I've been hearing that, folks. I mean, again, what's real? I don't know.
We've talked to Elle a couple of times, and I know that she's real, and I've talked to her, and I'm going to trust her. So
They're saying that she did a show over it earlier, or talked about it earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah, now I know that anything over 10 rounds in California is considered illegal. I know that, Mr. Stockton. Yeah, because I got family out in Cali as well, and I've been out there. And in fact, one of my family members is a prior Vietnam vet, did 3 tours, and let me tell you how hot and pissed off this man is about how he has to have only 10 rounds.
I need a refill. Keep talking.
That's not enough, you know. Yeah, it's just interesting, people. Think about it. I mean, yep, California. I gotta use that. That's definitely that's old Chris. That's Chris Stockton's love right there. Well, Mexifornia. Now, Garden G says New Jersey's a sanctuary state. Illegals live there, so that can happen. To White House says, well, now that law, I don't know. Did it get passed? Was that voted upon by the public? And if so, that would where I'd probably have some issues to where if it's a sanctuary state and you're getting these crazy laws all of a sudden being passed, maybe there's some people who are voting illegally. I don't know. Let's see here what we got going on. Kevin Brower, I think just like you, brother, come down south and tell a redneck that. They'll show you their rounds in your butt. I agree with that. You know, that's the same idea, man. There's no way people are going to relinquish something as sacred as that unless somebody else with something bigger is coming to your door. And that, like we talked about, is a far-fetched thing. So it's like, I mean, illegitimate laws by an illegitimate government. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that statement. But this is where we're at right now, and you can try to say that, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about, and you can talk about this District of Columbia and how it's its own foreign government, and they give us. We've consented. It's called rule by consent.
And not so much
And
us, but our
it's not us.
ancestors.
We're not
and
talking
our,
about you. Yeah, we're not saying like you personally consented. So you were born into this. This was.
and a lot of times people have done research and thought there's ways to get out of it. And the next time I go to court, I'm going to apply this, what I learned over here. But that was real selfish of you to try to get out of it all by yourself and separate yourself. What about the rest of us? It's got to be done all at once. It's got to be terminated for all. There is no getting out of it by yourself. It's all for one, one for all type thing. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of this kind of stuff is it's gotten so big, and so many people who try to look at this truth and angle don't even realize that 50% of your reality is a lie. There you go. I mean, we don't try to be so harsh like that, but it's like if you don't understand that the District of Columbia is not a state, and you don't know the difference, then
Sandy
go back
Clinch. Reagan
Yeah,
gave
watch-
warnings too. That's right. Early on, Reagan gave warnings.
That's right, he did.
So we're going to go. That's the ones we could really cite would be Abraham Lincoln, I believe, JFK, Reagan, and now Trump. Has there been 12 plus assassination attempts on Trump's life? That's what there's rumors of. I can't confirm.
Yeah,
those.
I mean,
Not yet.
I don't know. Reagan gave warnings. What executive orders did Reagan pass during his administration about the warnings he gave? So I mean, I'm not doubting that Reagan. There was people who saw things were happening and wanted to do something about it, but I don't know really. I don't know what other president besides risked their family, their lives to come out and start talking about secret societies and the Federal Reserve in such a way that our current president is. Reagan warned about it, but it was such a cryptic speech that he gave towards the end of his administration that it was a bunch of speeches, and he did give a lot of warnings, but it was more along the lines of what executive orders or what happened after Reagan. That was a long time ago. Remember, if this thing is to happen, this will change the trajectory of our country and nation forever. So the people who tried to do that got killed. And there was attempted assassinations on multiple presidents, and I understand that, but it's interesting. Is it a coincidence, or is it just a piece of information? Is this a rabbit holes in an eddy? Because how does that
It's
apply
worth
to
keeping
right
an eye
now?
on. That's what we say. We keep an eye on this.
Yeah.
We keep an eye on this. We keep an eye on that. We report lots to take, I wouldn't be sitting here saying, hey, folks, I've come to the conclusion that the whole Illuminati NWO thing, it's not real. Quit looking at that over there. Now just focus over here. I could just take you away from a whole area of valid research. Again, in the intelligence communities, you got to look at a lot of things. A lot of it's going to be wrong. Some of it's going to be good, but you'll come to a collective connecting the dots scenario, and that's how it works. The more you don't look at, the less that you can have to come to a better decision with. That's sometimes how it works. Have they saturated our, the NSA, the intelligence communities with gathering so much information on everybody? Does that almost saturate the overall, does it make it harder so the enemies can operate more smoothly on the bottom of the radar because they've made it to be a needle in a haystack to
Deception,
find?
yes. The deception is the greatest tool. If you don't Think about it. If you don't know that there's a secret government operating under a separate constitution, then you're just going along happily in life thinking a U.S. code and this policy is the same as a law. And when you talk and argue to people, they'll say the same thing, that that's what they think. But because they're under this illusion that this is what it is. Oh, really? I have a this fractional reserve banking, this kind of stuff. Oh, what's that all about? Ah, that's crazy talk. I just put my money in the bank. What do you do at some point? You try to shock them with information like that's fiat currency, like the car. Wow, no, not like the car.
Not like the car. CGI technology.
You know, yeah. That's why even now with technology, it's so crazy what we can. You look
So
at the
there you
production
go.
that Mike and I are doing here.
Deborah Booker Fleischer. I never trusted the government at all. Okay, and honestly, you probably shouldn't. Now, here we are again. That's where people stick with that statement. That statement's been around for a very, very long time. When the government says don't worry, that's when you should. When the government says don't panic, that's when you should. So
But wait a minute.
here we have this scenario where Trump's government, but this is that's what sucks. So again, it's kind of hard to say, well, trust the government. So we're not saying that. We take Trump. I don't even really put him in. I think he's just using the poor SOBs. He's using the system. He ran on the Republican side because this would be the only way that it could have happened. Listen to what he says. It's all anti-government. That's why the minute this thing goes down, he's done. There's going to have to be a new election. The right way.
Yeah, it's going down. Well,
He beat the system legitly, but once this is done, and all these things that have been put into play on us that are so wrong, the mass collection of data, all these other laws, they're going to be done. They're using them to take down these people. Once they're done taking them down, the laws get abolished. CIA no more. Thread it. You know, what is it? What's the old, shred it into a million pieces and scatter it into the winds?
shatter them. That is.
Yeah, shatter it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. JFK
Wow.
said that. But you can use these same systems they built up to screw everybody else. It's going to be used to bite them in the butt. Then they'll be dismantled. NSA no more. All that. People, you don't have to have trust in the government. These are patriots. Trust in patriots that have stood up for what is right. Whether it was at the last hour or not.
People do make that statement a lot. No, I don't trust the government. I've never trusted the government. And what have we been doing all this time? All these elections, and we were talking on Monday morning over the water cooler about who's doing what, and you hear what the president said, or you hear what this guy's doing. What have we been doing all this time? You trust the government as much as I trust the government. We go to work and we trust that our paycheck's going to come in, and the money we make is going to buy food, and the roads that we're on is not too bad, and then when it snows, they're going to plow the road, and we trust the government for all kinds of things.
Well, and if you're not on board, with the possibility, and I mean, if it was a total farce, I'd get it, but if you're actually hearing, seeing, that's all we got. We're seeing things with our eyes, we're hearing things out of somebody's mouth, and it seems to go directly against the establishment, the system, the old guard.
Kind of perks my ears up a little bit. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Kind of gets my radar going. Like, wait a minute, he's talking about something that's interesting.
And if enough noise can really help and get enough people to be in tune with that, take power away from DC, give it back, restore it to the people, get rid of the Fed.
This is the kind of stuff that
If you don't partake in
I
that,
want to have
what's the
happen.
other angle? What's the other
what's the
angle?
other option? Yeah.
That you're caring about your own life to try to survive through a martial law, nuclear war type scenario. I'm going to head for for the mountains. And screw all you guys. I'm not telling you what mountain range I'm going to, by the way, but that's where I'm heading. You should do the same. See ya. Sign out and be gone. What does that do?
That doesn't seem like spreading the truth. That seems like hoarding your supplies.
Yeah, you're taking all your own stuff and just, going to live good and a couple good weeks on water and yeah.
Hey, I wish it
Great.
was like that, but they have the technology and the infrared technology to pretty much
What about
find
these
if you get to that
weapons?
level.
Directed energy
I mean-
weapons and lasers that can light your cigarette from the moon or something. I don't know what they got, but folks, come on. I mean, what do you want here? What do you want?
The fact that if you want something to change, we've already talked about it. What other scenario can it be? It can't be a bunch of people rising up with guns, because we've seen how the bad regimes handle those types of things. They're controlled. I mean, what are you going to do? You can rant and rave all you want, and you can make a big old stink, or you can say, "Oh, you guys don't know nothing, and you guys just are doing this kind of stuff. You have no clue what's going on. You're promoting evil."
No way.
I don't think so. No, you got to if we're promoting good, what do we want good? We don't want pedophilia to be happening. That's evil stuff. We don't want human trafficking. We don't want people coming and pouring across our border, coming in because. Yeah, I've used to live in other states as well. I've been all along the border states. I'm very clear about what happens in the southern area of our country. And so to even think that Mike and I are almost disconnected to what's really happening around us, and we're hoping that's like a hope porn, or we're trying to feed out. It's like, man. Go to your negative channel. We like to promote truth and peace and coming together of people, and especially patriots, because that's what this time in our country, in our lives, calls for. If it was about a whole awakening to something else, we'd probably be promoting that. But right now, it's about taking back our country, because I don't want my kids to grow up in this same type of volatile government.
Yeah, you don't even need Q at this point, folks. What we need is this. If there's a portion of the world, a portion of the YouTube community that believe that martial law is coming and there's a new world order system, the other way to look on this road is that we need to hurry up and take it back then and do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
stop that?
Is that wild to think? I'm just me. We're 99%. We're fighting 1%. Who's bigger? Who's badder? Is it the 1% you're scared of?
Yeah,
they're scared of you knowing their business. They're scared of you finding out because they know that we're 99%, and that scares them. So their whole illusion lies in lies. It relies on lies.
You're right. You're right. I mean, if everybody knew their constitution, would you think we'd operate in a different manner when you go to the store? Well, how about when you get pulled over by a police officer?
If you knew the real reason wasn't to build the wall because it was for these people's interest to get kids in and out of the country and to get fentanyl in and out of the country, dangerous drugs. If you knew that was the real reason why they don't want to secure it, but yet on TV they'll keep saying, "Oh no, that's the wall's real unclassy. It's unclassy," and they keep using that word, and you're like, "See, no, they don't. The Democrats don't want it because it kind of looks tacky, and it's like it's an eyesore." No, that's not the real reason. It's like they'll come up with a million reasons, but if you know the real reason, because the light's been shined in that area. They can't lie to you no more. You took the guys out of it. That's their biggest fear.
It doesn't work anymore.
That's it.
Yeah. I
so
totally
if there is a
agree.
possibility, because as of right now, we could all agree on, most likely, that we have a corrupt system. We could also agree on there's facts and law that there's a way to fix that. Are any of you actively doing anything to fix it? No, we're waiting on somebody to do it for us. Okay, that can be a fact. Are
So
we in
what
the
is
new
it?
world order system yet of martial law and a one world money, one world government, one world nothing? No, we're not. Are we headed there?
Yeah.
Possibly. That's a possibility. Can we stop it from heading there? No. No. It's too big of a system. All we can do is prep and get ready and head to the mountains or hills or whatever you want to do. Get your underground bunker going. Yeah, you can do those things as well. But if you had a chance and the road was going one way or the other, reset the government, have another 50, 100 years of good, or just go this way. Lay down, stay in the corner, and just go with the flow that it's going. So we're not in either. We're not under martial law. We haven't had our weapons taken. What are these litmus tests? Right, Ben? You got some litmus tests.
Yeah. I mean, well, a good litmus test that I always say that when I wake up tomorrow, can I go exercise all of my amendmental and my constitutional rights? And these are rights, by the way, that are self-evident to me and to every other freedom-loving patriot. And how are they self-evident? By the amendments that we drafted up that would basically explain that self-evidence. And so when they start taking those away, and I'm not just saying like, oh, this is a ban on the spring and the so many rounds. No. That's just a bunch of hooey. That's been them trying to put a tamper on this, infringe. That's what they're trying to do. When they outright take away, let's just call it what it is, man. When they start taking away, like on a massive scale, permanently, now it's permanently your rights to bear arms and to speak freely and to have private property, well, then yes, then that's it. Then what's the point? There's no YouTube. We're not using money anymore. We're all just milking off of whoever. And they talk about FEMA camps and all these different crazy things. And like, yeah, it was getting there. We all agree. Yes, there's crazy things that's happening.
I'm not going to create a channel to help cater that in and just guide you guys.
Yeah,
like, all right, folks. So in a month or two, we're going to be under martial law. Here's what you could expect. Here's what you need to do. Nah. We're gonna stop. Not on my watch. Let's put it that way. All right. Not on my watch. We're trying to stop that. All right. We're trying to stop it and help you guys understand that we can take back this stuff. All right, we're 99% of the world. There's only 1% we're fighting. Doesn't take even everybody to actively fight them. We don't. We just need people to understand, be awake. All right, so that's all it is. Other people might tell you, hey, on my watch, I'm letting this happen. It's going to come right on by me, right over my head, right to the left and right of me, and I'm going to help. I'm going to guide you guys into the new world order. I'm going to help you march right on in. No. Hell no.
No, I agree with you because I'm just going over the Declaration of Independence here, and
that's always a good thing.
So between them, the state of Great Britain ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with the firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge each other our lives, our fortitude, and our sacred honor. And that's the oath that they took between each other, not to a government, to each other. And think about that when you start when New Jersey starts to put a high capacity magazine round ban overnight, and who's going to comply? Same thing with California. I know there's a lot of true patriots out there in California. A lot of you guys are holding strong, and a lot of the laws that you guys are going over in your state are really infringing on our constitutional rights. And in fact, the declaration that declared our independence from any tyrannical government So we're with you on that, and we fight for that. And to think that we're trying to do otherwise, man, I'm sorry to say, but that's not what we're about here. And I love the fact that all of our commenters and the emails you get, we get nothing but support and love from you guys. And there's a lot of naysayers and there's trolls out there. That just comes to the territory. We've told you that before. But the bottom line is
a lot of
we're
newcomers
just
as
trying to
well.
get togethers.
And
Yeah,
some of
a
it
lot
has
of them.
been a trove load of trolls. So it's been interesting. But
And
again,
some of the other channels we watch as well, because Mike and I, we watch other channels. There's a lot of other channels that have good information and stuff come out, and we've seen the trolls on their channels and the shadow banning happening on their channels and all the issues that
we
they're
keep
happening.
up with it
and
for sure. We gotta.
So yeah, we're not the only ones that are going through it as well. It's
Yes.
like a badge of honor, kind of.
Yes, it is. So we love all of you guys. It's been a great. And I was mistaken, folks. Our 1 year anniversary isn't until February, so it's like February 10th or something.
Okay.
So I kept saying January earlier on this month, but I was looking because all you have to do is go to the Patriot Hour and go to the About, and it'll tell you when, that very first day. I remember I had a video ready, and I had to open up YouTube to even put it up, so it was already done and recorded. And I was like, well, let me set up a channel. So that was that exact same day. So February 10th, I believe, might be a day off, but I think it's February 10th, 27th or 18th.
Something like that, yeah.
So
Patriot
we're got about a month and a week or two, about a month and a week, a couple weeks. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But all right, we'll shut this one down. Who knows? It's just now at 10 o'clock. If we'll do one later on, if we're both still up and active. If not, we'll definitely be back tomorrow. I will. Maybe Ben can join if you can squeeze off another episode. This is great.
Oh, yes.
Went for about an hour and a half.
Yes.
Any words of encouragement to everybody in their journeys just around the bend? Give them some final words of wisdom.
I would say first and foremost, always put on the full armor of God, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in the high places, the wickedness, you guys. So we're not coming after any one person or a group of people. We're fighting evil, and this is how we know how to fight it. And all you can do is prepare for when the time comes. And when the time comes, stand for what you believe is right, and you can't be wrong. Know the founding documents that gave you the ability to know you can stand for what's right, and you can't be wrong. Bottom line. God bless you guys. Godspeed. For sure, share this. Like, for sure. Thumbs up. It gets up to a lot of people. I can't believe all you guys sat with us. We're going to do a little bit of garage talk. We may come back another episode, but for sure tomorrow, definitely get something popping off, because that's the big date we've been talking about for a while now. So we're going to see what happens.
What goes into effect tomorrow in just about 3 hours, 2 hours, folks.
Yes, very interesting. Very interesting. That's on paper, multiple sources. We know it's been signed. We know when it goes active. So something real is becoming active tomorrow. We'll see how that plays out and how that really happens. Again, I'm Ben. This is the Patriot Hour.
I'm Mike. Patriot Hour. God bless. Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. And we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour update video. Have a great evening.
God
Happy
bless.
New Year.